Maybe you've heard of the vagus nerve. It is starting to get very trendy and known, well deserved, because it is one of the most important pathways in the nervous system to regulate how we exist in the world. My name is Dr. Kayla Clark. I'm a naturopathic doctor, 500-hour registered yoga teacher, Mesa carrier, mama, many other titles. This video, I'm going to go into both the science and the soul behind the nervous system and the vagus nerve, because the yogis knew all about it thousands of years ago, and how we can help calm it so we can live a more vital and present life. And I'm going to give you some really simple, powerful tools that you can use and help you understand why they work. So the vagus nerve, which in Latin stems from the word wandering, is one of the cranial nerves, meaning it starts in the brain, in the cranium, and it goes down through the body, through the neck, through the diaphragm, into the stomach, and it has branches that branch throughout the whole upper body. So the vagus nerve is one of the most primal nervous system pathways to exist in life. Its job is essentially to do many things, but one of the most black and white things it does is survival. It tells us, are we safe or are we going to die? It's a very primal nerve. Back when organisms were much more simple, it had this function of safe or are we going to die? And as it evolved in animals, we start to see how this comes into effect, as if, imagine you're a deer getting chased by a big cat or a predator. If you're safe and you're hanging out in the field and you're good, your vagus nerve is going to be calm, it's going to be in ventral activation, it's going to be activating what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest system, which is what's switched on when you're calm and you're relaxing. When you're getting chased by that predator that comes running through the grass, all of a sudden your nervous system shoots up, your stress shoots up, you go into that fight or flight mode, or that sympathetic nervous system. And that is because your vagus nerve has moved into what's called dorsal activation, and it's basically turned on and it said, oh, we're gonna die, we're in danger, we need to get out of here. And that releases that whole cascade that eventually turns on that fight or flight system. That fight or flight system is super helpful and necessary because it allows our bodies to physiologically respond to those threats. Our blood sugar goes up, our cortisol goes up, our pupils allow in more light so we can see, so we can run away from the predator. Our blood shunts to our most vital organs. Physiologically, we adapt. And the idea is that these adaptations are for a short term while we get away from the threat, and then we can calm down and move back out of that sympathetic activation, that fight or flight, and move back into that parasympathetic activation, that calm. So that vagus nerve can go, oh, we're in a threat, we need to run, turn on the system, and then it'll calibrate back to looking around the environment. Oh, the threat is gone. Okay, we can go back to the rest and digest system, the calm. Now, in our modern world, we are no longer, well, some of us are, but many of us are no longer predators from big cats running away from threats. And so these threats don't tend to not exist and then all of a sudden exist and then go away. Our threats are more existential, like life purpose or kids or credit card bills or health, or things that don't always just go away, unfortunately. And our nervous system, which is more than just the vagus nerve, it's the whole system. But each person will have a threshold, essentially, of how their nervous system experiences threat. One person will be super afraid of snakes and the other person is not. One person is afraid of public speaking and the other person is not. Maybe some of this is in their genetics and in their DNA and in the collective subconscious, and then some of it is involved in their story and their upbringing again, and what has been processed by them and deemed threatening. So each person will have a different threshold. However, many of us are running around nowadays feeling threatened or diminished in some capacity. Our nervous systems are ramped up. Many of us are in fight or flight. Our cortisol is high. That's why our blood sugar is often high. Chronic disease is often high. There are many reasons of this, of course, diet, disconnection from nature, many things. But the vagus nerve is at the heart of it all. To take it one step further, if you are a highly sensitive person or a woman or an empath, there's something that goes beyond that fight or flight response that the vagus nerve can move into, which is called the freeze response, and then there's also the fawn response, which I'll talk about. Maybe you've heard of these before. So when you're being chased by that lion, or that animal is being chased by that lion, or that credit card bill, or whatever it is, and that fight or flight system is on, and the vagus nerve is saying, there's a threat, there's a threat, there's a threat, and it's constantly scanning the environment, looking for threats, and it does this when it senses a threat. It's always on the environment, looking the environment for more threats. So that's why the perspective and mindset shift work comes into play, because if you see one thing that is threatening you, you'll see a lot of other things. And if you see one thing that's calming you, you'll see a lot of other things. And so this is a little bit of the science behind it. There's the reticular activating system is what it's called in the brain, whose job is to scan for threats, and it's connected to this vagus nerve. So when we're looking around in our environment, we're feeling constantly stressed, our fight or flight is on, our cortisol is on, we're starting to reach feeling like we're gonna head into a crash. Eventually, our vagus nerve comes into something called, I mentioned before, dorsal vagal activation. So this is when it comes to a point where the nervous system essentially says, you can't go anymore, you're gonna die, we need to pull the emergency brake. So imagine the analogy of your nervous system being a car. Your foot's on the gas pedal, you're going, and then your body says, and the car says, you need to stop, like this is not sustainable anymore. You're going to head into what we know as burnout, which is the physiological version of what I'm talking about. But eventually your vagus nerve pulls the emergency brake, but your foot's still on the gas. And so now, obviously the car is like, what is going on? I actually don't know what happens in a car if you do that. I hope I never have to find out. I hope you don't know either, but I imagine it's not good. But the point being is that you are sending this signal to go, 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 because a lot of us aren't removing these stressors. You can't always remove some of this stuff. It's just there, it's part of our world. It's coming at us. We're trying to, our body's saying stop, but we can't stop. And so we're saying go. And so we move into this state that we like to call freeze. Freeze state is essentially when your body is deer in the headlights. It's like, I can't function, shut down, shut down, shut down. Maybe you've been here before. You just want to sit in the corner and stare at the wall. And you don't even know. If people ask you what you want to do, it's like almost freak out. It's hairpin triggers. It's a dissociation almost. A depression, but not really depression. It's more of a dissociation. And a lot of people are existing here, moving through their lives like wraiths, like ghosts, not really alive, not even feeling the passion or the stress anymore, not really feeling anything. And then, of course, on top of that is the added, the medication, the drugs, the binging, all the foods, all of those things. What do we do about it? So this is where the connection of the soul comes in. Because while we have all this science, and I'm going to talk about some of the more scientific ways that we can heal the vagus nerve, but to do that, I actually have to go back to some of the more ancient knowing of yoga and the practices. And there's many schools of learning that teach this and have some parallels in this as well. I'm just going to talk about yoga because that's what I'm going to talk about today. So in yoga, there is the sushumna nadi, which is the main energy channel that runs through the center of the body. It is a channel of prana, which is like energy, vital life force. There are many nadis, which are energy channels that run throughout the body. Chakras are energy centers. In Chinese medicine or in traditional Chinese belief, they're called meridians. Whatever you want to call them, they're there. The main one in yoga, the sushumna nadi, is a similar parallel, like a layered dimension on top of the vagus nerve. So, believing that the energy runs through the sushumna nadi and our vagus nerve runs through the same area, deep belly breathing, and it sounds so simple, is literally the best thing, one of the best things we can do to calm this nerve and move it out of this freeze response and into the calm response. The reason being is because physically the nerve runs through the diaphragm and through the chest. And so when we're belly breathing, it's innervating in the belly and the nerve is being activated, and we're literally through a feedback loop telling our body that we're calm, because we're only breathing slowly when we're calm. And so if we're breathing calm, our primitive vagus nerve here will believe that we're calm. So do that. Deep belly breathing, the best time to do it is right before you fall asleep or right when you wake up, when your brain is still firing in alpha brainwave state. It's the easiest time to program into your subconscious a state of calm. Okay, so that's why in yoga, they talk about the sushumna nadi and they talk about breath, pranayama. It is the most important thing to do. And even now in our modern society, it's almost instinctual to deep breathe when we need to be calm. The next thing to do is chanting and talking and singing and mantra and really vibrating this nerve essentially. So in yoga, they use the syllable Om. It can really be anything though. There are different bijas, which are different syllables that can, different frequencies that can do certain things, but that is a video for a more soulful talk. But the science behind it is your frequency of your voice vibrating that nerve as you hum or chant or sing, then it will again activate and send energy and turn off this fight or flight response. I find mantra and chanting personally to be probably the most effective thing for medicine, healing, anybody, or anything really. So don't discount this one. A lot of us don't use our voices anymore. I was so scared for many years to use my voice again. That's a video for another time, but as my practice has gotten deeper, mantra and chanting has, for my nervous system, with someone with chronic anxiety, has been the best medicine. So breathing and chanting, the best ways to calm this vagus nerve from the ancient roots and also from the physiological points. Now, also some fun little tidbits that we can also do. There are many different techniques like EFT, tapping, different acupuncture meridians, breathing, chanting, different forms of touch on the face of the trigeminal nerve, which also goes to the vagus nerve. So different, like just soft, calm touching on the face. Again, this one might cause a little bit of stuff to come up, and if it does, breathe and hum through it. Those are going to be your base tools. But soft touching on the upper body, because again, the vagus nerve activates and innervates the upper body. This can be a way to signal calm to that nerve. So we have breathing, we have humming and chanting, we have soft touch. And I'll give you a fun little one here. The left ear, this is my left ear. It might look right on your screen. I don't know, but just this, it's the left. Pick your left ear. I'm gonna do it because I have a piercing in my left ear and it also just helps the visual. But you're gonna go here, right to the center of your left ear, right where my piercing is, the conch piercing. And that is where there is an acupuncture point. It's called Shenmen, 0 point. And it is essentially the reset point for the nervous system in acupuncture, in Chinese medicine. And physiologically, with the vagus nerve, it has a terminal branch of the nerve that runs into the ear, and it ends just here. And so if you gently stimulate that point while you take some deep belly breaths in nature to ground, of course, maybe while you're humming, this can be a powerful way to reset also. If you go to specialized practitioners, sometimes they'll do frequency microcurrents. They'll actually put like a little electrode on that point, or an acupuncturist too, to put a needle in there to stimulate it to do the same thing. But if you're just at home, a little stimulation and deep belly breathing is a very powerful way that you can calm that nerve. Okay, I've given you some science behind the vagus nerve, what it's doing, why it causes us to live in a state of perpetual threat, dissociation, and some very, very rudimentary, simple but not easy, and very powerful tools to help reset that nerve. Breath, sound, nada yoga, sound frequency, safe touch, and some acupuncture pressure. There are many tools and many different tricks that you can do to calm the vagus nerve. These are just some of them. There is also a video I posted, 15-minute yoga nervous system reset. It's not really yoga. It kind of goes into a little bit more detail of these practices. And if you want to chant with me, watch the next video where we're going to do a 15-minute chant with my Shruti box together.